Hello everyone, my name is Garvin. I read things and jabber about them on the internet for your entertainment. Today we're looking at our fourth entry into cities that once were lost but now were found. Hattusa, the capital of the Hittite Empire. Now, the Hittite Empire is one of the big Bronze Age empires right up there with ancient Egypt, but where the Egyptians managed to survive the Bronze Age collapse and their culture continued, the Hittites did not, and their culture, language, and state disappeared into the mist of time. Today, however, because of the work of historians and archaeologists, we have a window into that long ago world. Now, just a quick note, this isn't meant to be an in-depth dive into the city or into the Hittite Empire, but there is a list of sources below in the description to help you learn more if you'd like. With all that said, let's talk about Hattusa. Hattusa was founded in 2500 BC by the Hatti, a group related to the Hittites that we know even less about because, as is a reoccurring theme, they didn't write anything down. Their city was destroyed around 1750 BC by a Hittite king named Anita, who ruled over the city-state of Kusara. He then dramatically laid a curse on anyone that tried to rebuild the city. Roughly 100 years later, a Hittite king of Kusara named Hattusa decided, screw you, great-grandpa, you're not the boss of me, and went and rebuilt the city. His name, by the way, means man from Hattusa, entertainingly enough. We believe he changed it when he built the city, which is kind of an extra twist of screw you, old man, at least to me. Hattusa would go on to become the capital of the Old Hittite Kingdom. The Old Kingdom would continue until 1355 BC, when it was overrun by a coalition of invaders hitting it from all sides. The king at that time burnt the city down and retreated from it to try and keep some of his strength intact. His son, Sup-li-Luluma, I'm starting to think the civilization fell just from the amount of time it took to say anybody's name, led a brutal campaign to regain their lost territories and managed to expand on top of that. He also rebuilt Hattusa into a fortress, and from there the Hittites grew into a powerful empire to rival the Assyrians, the Babylonians, and the Egyptians, controlling lands and territory from the coast of modern-day Turkey down into Syria, parts of modern-day Iraq, and Lebanon. The city itself was a planned, fortified urban center meant to serve as an administrative and cultural capital to the empire. It had three main parts: the lower town, which was the original city, the Great Fortress, no points for guessing what that was, and the upper town, which was built in the 1200s BC as part of a massive renovation effort. The lower town was dominated by the Great Temple, a huge structure built on an artificial platform of earth. This temple had over 82 rooms. Now, most of them were for storage, but that's still a big building. It was dedicated to the storm god and sun goddess of the Hittites. Today, it's mostly known for the Hattusa greenstone, a block of green nephrite that local belief claims can grant wishes. If anyone's seen this thing and had it grant their wish, please let me know in the comments below. The upper town had its own temple complex, where about 31 different temples were built for various gods, as well as a palace with attached archives. The entire city covered about 440 acres and was surrounded by a 35-foot tall wall with towers every 70 feet or so. There were only 4 gates: the Lion Gate, the Earth Gate, the Sphinx Gate, and the King's Gate. On top of this, the Hittite kings built a network of secret tunnels, making moving troops around the city in secret easier, as well as allowing them different escape points. So this was a hard nut to crack. But cracked it was, after a hard civil war that kicked off a series of coups and counter-coups, combined with widespread famine, which led to the Hittites being completely dependent on grain shipments from Egypt. All of this left the manpower reserves of the empire depleted, and the city itself all but abandoned. The Sea Peoples would show up in 1197 BC and destroy Hattusa for the final time. After the Bronze Age collapse, a loose group of Neo-Hittite kingdoms would briefly rise up, but they would be steamrolled by the Assyrians, who followed their savage policy of mass population displacement, basically expelling conquered peoples from their homes, forcibly relocating them to new homes within the empire while resettling their old lands with unrelated peoples. This was the killing blow to the Hittite culture, and so Hattusa, which had been destroyed twice before and rebuilt, would not see another rebirth. The city lay lost in the highlands of Anatolia for thousands of years until it was rediscovered in 1834 by Charles Texier, a French archaeologist. However, serious study of the site didn't start until 1892, when French archaeologist Ernest Chanty started survey work of the site. At the time, no one knew what city they were looking at, because no one could read the Hittite language. This is due to a couple of factors. First, the Hittites spoke an Indo-European language. The Indo-European language tree, however, is huge. It includes languages like Hindi, Kurdish, Russian, English. You get the idea of sheer variety of languages here. They wrote using cuneiform, however, which was invented in Sumeria, and the Sumerian language isn't related to any other language that we're aware of. We're kind of at a loss at where it came from. Most of the languages that adopted cuneiform, like Akkadian, were Semitic. Examples of Semitic languages you might be familiar with would be Arabic and Hebrew. The Hittites were using cuneiform symbols to write out Hittite words using their own grammar that wasn't related to anyone else using that writing system. To give you a handle on this, imagine a future society that spoke, I don't know, Korean, but wrote using the Latin alphabet, and you're trying to figure this out without any idea how to speak Korean. That's the level of difficulty you're kind of looking at here. However, we did manage to eventually crack that code when a German archaeologist named Hugo Winkler found an archive of clay tablets, over 10,000 of them, in 1906. It still took 10 years before a Czech professor named Bedřich Horonsky, that's nowhere near right, I'm sorry, Horonsky, you know what, that's as close as I'm going to get. I apologize to the Czech people. This professor was able to figure out how to read them and opened a window into the Hittite world. Now, I would like everyone to stop and think about this. For all of this to work, it took two French archaeologists, a German and a Czech, all working on the same site and off of the same body of knowledge. This shows why international cooperation is so important in history and archaeology. Otherwise, we lose information, and there's a high possibility of losing that information forever. All that said, we still don't know a lot about the day-to-day existence of the average person in the Hittite Empire, because most of the Hittite writings we have were focused on international treaties, laws, organization, and the concerns of kings, generals, and other elite figures. Some of you may remember back in the Pompeii video where I encouraged you, dear readers, to write stuff down about your day-to-day life in a form that would be easy to preserve for a long time. Even baked clay tablets, as long as you put them in a really secure container, would work. Stuff like this is why. I mean, if one Hittite scribe had just written out a bunch of stuff about his day and we had found it, they would be the most well-known Hittite in the world. Ea Nasir, a Babylonian merchant who sold bad copper, is now an international meme 6,000 years later. He is world famous. Just something to think about there. Although, if you do something like this, remember to write on whatever you use that you're doing it because Garvin told you to. But again, don't explain who or what I am. Let's let the future nerds sweat this one out. Today, Hattusa is a World Heritage Site, having been put on the list in 1986, and is the focus of a lot of restoration and excavation work. You can go see it today and see reconstructions of the Lion Gate, some of the walls. There's exhibits of artifacts from Hattusa in the Istanbul Museum. So it has gone from a forgotten ruin of a vanished culture to a well cared for and preserved window into a past world that we had almost forgotten even existed. Would you call that a happy ending? Maybe. Everything ends. Even our culture and civilization will more than likely one day come to a complete and utter stop. Hopefully not for a while, but the future is unknown. And in my view, being remembered is worthwhile. At least I think so. You tell me what you think in the comments, okay? I think I'm going to stop there today. I hope you found this video informative, or at least entertaining. If so, please leave a like, comment, or even subscribe, as all of these help me in my eternal struggle against the Dread Lord algorithm. Terror be on his name. Speaking of helping in my eternal struggle, thanks to my biggest supporter, Big Steve. If you'd like a shout out in my video, or if you just even want to say in future content, or peek at patron-only content, consider joining the Everwise for only $1 a month. There's a link to my Patreon in the description above the sources used, which should help you find out more about the Hittites and Hattusa. Next week is going to be my final video of the year, where I'll be talking about the city of Mohenjo-Daro. After that, I will return in January 2024, where it looks like my patrons are asking me to do another pair of official, unofficial alien history videos, this time for the Earth Alliance of Babylon 5. I hope you join me next week, and that I see you again in January, but until then, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and of course, keep reading.